Good morning. So for those of you who weren't here 2 weeks ago, we started an adventure in this book called The 10 Challenges. A gentleman named Leonard Felder took the 10 Commandments and, first of all, corrected the actual translation of the Aramaic, which is 10 words or the 10 things. They were never commandments or rules. They were invitations on how to live better. And so he starts from that premise, and then he sort of not really modernizes them, but makes them more accessible to us in our real life and sort of tweaks them a little. So we did 1 through 5. Now we're jumping in to 6 through 10. So here we go. So the main thrust of this idea, I found this quote and I really loved it. It says, I want to do good. If I'm not doing good, what am I doing? And it's this idea behind all of these challenges of wanting to do good, wanting to be good in the world. So the first challenge, well, not first, the sixth, number 6. The commandment is, you shall not commit murder. And Leonard reworks it as, what can you do to prevent the crushing of a person's spirit, or don't let your own anger or your despair cause you to shatter a human life. And he also clarifies not only another person's, but your own. And so I found this quote by Hafiz, I wish I could show you when you are lonely or in darkness the astonishing light of your own being. So this one's a real kicker. Because generally the commandment, thou shalt not commit murder, we're all like, I'm good with that. You know, I'm not going to do that. But when it's reworked in this way, it's like, oh, check myself. And in the readings of the Talmud, this challenge also includes an invitation not to humiliate or shame another. So earlier this month, I learned through a friend about a group on Twitter, a group of gentlemen who have a week-long event on Twitter called Fat Shaming Week. And it is directed against women of weight. And as I researched more, what I referred to as the Week of Horrors, I was amazed at how cruel people could be, and especially when they're being anonymous on the internet. And I thought about the women who are impacted by this experience, including myself. And I thought about the young girls in the world today who are willing to harm themselves in order not to be part of this abuse. And I thought about the men in the world who are not part of this thinking, who are now needing to apologize for their existence and prove themselves not part of this. So on a daily basis, little things that we say and do have a ripple effect. We all know this, right? We all know this. And I've talked about before how much I love at cars at the grocery store when they started saying our names. I love this. I love when they say, thank you, Miss Hollander, you just saved $1 gazillion. And I've also shared in the past how there was that time when I was really busy and I was in a hurry, and the person said, thank you, Miss Hollander, and I went, yeah, right, and grabbed my bag and walked on. And I had to stop myself and go back and look at the name tag and say, thank you, Beth, for serving me. Because I'm fairly certain that that person working at that cash register did not aspire to that career. I could be wrong. But my guess is when they were 7 or 8 years old, they didn't think, oh, dear God, please, let me stand on my feet for 12 hours at a cash register in a grocery store and be abused by strangers. Please, please, please. I don't think that was their dream. It may be. But I'm pretty sure, it may not be. And the thing is that they deserve to be seen. We all deserve to be seen. And it's such an easy way to see someone. They say your name, they're wearing their name. Much easier. So this goes to this idea of like when somebody shares a dream with us and they say, this is what I really, really want to do. And it's important and they're passionate about it and you can feel that in them. And so it matters to me when somebody shares a dream with me and says, this is what I really, really want. And it's not for me to say, yeah, well, I don't really see that working out for you, but good luck. Who am I to do that? That's like totally squashing. And so here's my shout out. Deborah, when you hear this, this is for you. My friend Deborah lived in Saranac Lake, New York, way New York State, and had a dream that she wanted to live in Ocean City, Oregon. And so she sold everything, whittled her life down to a roll-on backpack, and moved from Saranac Lake to Ocean City, Oregon by Greyhound bus. And people were like, "You're doing what?" And she said, "Well, I want to see people. I've got people all across the country." She had this great map, and she did her little journey across the country, and she stayed with friends, and she visited us in Boise. She got to Ocean City, went, "Yep, this is where I want to be," and a few months later said, "Nope, this isn't it." Moved to Portland. She's living in Portland, loving Portland, digging Portland, and now she's like, "Nope, this isn't it." So now she's moving to an island, which is awesome. And it's great. And, for me to go, "Oh, Deborah, that's not okay." So when she was doing her Greyhound trip, my thing was, wow. So I'm inspired by her. I'm encouraged by her courage. And I was in constant prayer for her safety. Because, trust in Allah, tie up your camel. You got to do a little bit of both. So, I surrounded her in love. And she is living her dream, which is awesome. So one last piece about this one and all of them is it's really about all of us. It's not really about them or others or that person. All of these really are about us. Don't be your own worst wet blanket. If you have a passionate dream, if you have a vision, if you have a goal, try not to say to yourself, well, but I can't, just let's agree not to do that. And when I post things on Facebook about algebra, remind me that I said all that. Okay. The commandment is, you shall not commit adultery, and the challenge is how to elevate your sexuality to greater sacredness and fulfillment. Felder shares that sexual intimacy is a with experience, not a for experience or a to experience. It's a with experience. So here's the thing. I used to have a really firm and unyielding opinion about fidelity. I was unmoving. It was bad, it was wrong, it was a deal breaker. And I was harshly judgmental of women and men who returned to relationships to work on them. I was like, well, I don't know how you can do that. It's a deal breaker. So, of course, the universe went, oh, well, clearly Rachel needs to learn something about this. So I was in a relationship. I was very... It was not Heather. That's funny. Prior to Heather. And I was in love with that person, and that person was unfaithful to us, to the relationship. And so after the initial shock and the tears and the loss of trust and all that, I said to myself, what do I want to do? Do I want to leave this relationship? And, we didn't have any of the traditional reasons going on. We weren't married. There were no kids. There were no shared assets. I wasn't afraid for my safety. So there was no real reason to go. And also, ironically, I'm sorry, there wasn't any real reason to stay. Let me clarify. There was nothing blocking my way from walking out. But let me also clarify that at the same time I was in a spiritual training class that was taking me deep into my own thoughts and behaviors and patterns. Hello. Nothing happens for no reason. There was a definite universal, here's Rachel now. And so I stayed, and I continued to stay. And I learned a lot about love and trust and forgiveness and surrender, and I gained a really deep understanding about the choices people make and about my own judgment about the choices people make. I became stronger, I became more courageous, I became more honest, and my opinion changed. And what I figured out is that the infidelity was not the issue. It was the reason for the infidelity. Do you see what I mean? It was what led that moment What happened that led that moment to happen? What was it that encouraged the distraction? What was it, the feeling or belief that changed, that caused that and allowed that to happen? And can that thing be changed? Can it be healed? Can it be revealed and examined and looked at and go, oh, that's why it happened? And so it's not the cheating itself, it's our reaction to it. It's our response to it that should dictate any forward-moving decisions about the relationship. It's not, you cheated, I'm out. It's why? What happened? Where did our communication go wrong? When did we decide that this was not happening or that was? And so really evolving into that experience, and it's a very deep exploration. And the relationship ended up ending, but not because of that. It was because of the learning from that. And so Felder also explains in the chapter about bringing the sacred into moments that are not overtly sexual, like conversation. Just allowing conversation to become a sacred experience, a shared experience, and how to create intimacy with our partner that fosters safety and a nurturing essence. So there's a lot more to this one than just meets the eye. And we're still debating whether or not we're going to do a study group on the book. It's still on the books there, Sarah. We're still talking about it. So, moving on. The commandment is, you shall not steal. And the challenge is accomplishing your goals without mistreating other people. So as I pondered this challenge, I began to think about Heather's and my journey home to Anchorage. And we were coming home to open Spirit Stone. We didn't have a name yet, but we were coming home to do this. And in San Francisco, there's a center every step. I mean, there's just New Thought, Science of Mind, or New Thought centers everywhere you go. And they each have their own group of people, and they draw those who are magnetically drawn to them. And so you can find a community or a minister or a teaching or whatever the energy of the center draws you in. You can find yours. And if something changes, you can walk a few blocks and go to a new one, or drive across town and find another one. So here in Anchorage, different experience. And so as we drove home, and we were talking about Spirit Stone's creation and what we wanted it to look like and feel like, it was very important that both of us let Spirit guide us while also staying conscious of what the human experience was going to be like. One of the reasons we chose to meet at 9 a.m. was to minimize any potential conflict that we thought might arise. We wanted to achieve our dream without mistreating anyone else. And so recently I was talking with somebody who attends a different center in town, and they hadn't seen me since I got back. And they asked me how things were going, and I said, Spirit Stone's great, it's really exciting, we're growing, and it's really wonderful. And the person said, well, I can't come to your place because I just can't divide myself. And my immediate response was, well, that's okay. There's no need to even feel that way. There's no need for that thought. But later I felt really sad. I felt really sad that the word divide was used in regards to where people are getting spiritually fed. When I go to a church or a synagogue or a spiritual center, I'm there to benefit from the experience, to grow and to learn and to connect with myself, to connect with other people, to expand. And this is why Spirit Stone was created. We wanted a space that would be available, providing all of that and more for those who might not be getting it, or if they are already getting it, to enhance the experience, to make it even better. Simply to achieve our dream and invite others to join the dream without mistreating anyone, with no obligation, only invitation. So the Hebrew word used in this commandment is actually more complex than thievery. The Hebrew translation is actually closer to the word integrity. Reverend Robert Schuller writes, if you believe in the God or life that believes in you, then you'll believe that God, life, gives to you and to every person some idea, some dream, some desire to achieve or acquire. Your duty is to see this as a divine opportunity entrusted to the care and keeping of your imagination, your ingenuity, and your hard work. You must seize the moment, develop the possibility, and return your accomplishment as a gift. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? That's why we're here. We're here to live our lives in integrity, without apology, and doing so without mistreating others. So how? Well, we trust. We trust our inner compass. We trust our inner compass will know how to achieve our dreams without hurting anyone. And being awakened to who we are, we'll feel it when we miss the mark. We'll know it. And then we get to choose again. Agreed? Awesome. Awesome. All right, I love this next cartoon. What I expected false witness to mean, and it's a bear on the stand. The commandment is you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. The challenge is reducing gossip and hurtful talk in your daily life, or don't answer, respond, or repeat against your neighbor. Oh, something happened recently. It wasn't the first time. It will be the last time that has happened to me. I was speaking with some friends, and I was talking less than kindly about someone in this little circle of friends. And then we said goodnight and we walked away. And Heather mentioned that a good friend of the person we were talking about was within earshot and might have heard us. Let me clarify, might have heard me. And it was a humbling moment. More than that, it was a nauseating moment. It shook me awake to who I am and who I want to be in the world. And it was a very hard-learned lesson. Someone once taught a phrase to use if someone started bad talking. And they said, oh, this is what you should say. If somebody comes up to you and starts gossiping, you should say, that sounds like gossip. I don't do gossip. And walk away. Okay, there are a few problems with this one. I'm guessing you can figure those out. The first one is, oh my God, how self-righteous and judgmental. I don't do gossip. You know, it's like, wow, how's that other person going to feel? Like, oh, you know. And the other truth is, we all do it. Everyone does it. And it's not always with intent to hurt, but we do it. And I've never met anyone who doesn't ever talk about someone else. And it doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to always be a negative thing. Maybe somebody comes to you and says, oh, this thing just happened with somebody and I just need to process it. Or they need to understand something. This thing happened, I don't understand. Do you know this person well? Can you give me some insights? Or maybe they just want to vent. This person just did this really horrible thing and I just need to get it off my chest. Fine. Fine. That's fine. It's the how. It's delivered, received, where it's delivered and received, when it's delivered and received. Here's one way to know the difference. I have a little test. And the test does not include venting, because there are no rules for venting. Just let her rip. Just, wah. But here's the test. Would you be willing to say what you are saying if the person was standing in front of you? Or would you be okay if you discovered that they overheard you? Was what you were saying okay for them to hear? Did you express yourself in a way that carries your integrity? Or were you just trashing? Were you seeking solutions? Or did you really just need to be right? And it's always best to check our intentions before sharing any information. Because also remember, other people carry our information. And we would want them to treat it as gently as they would want us to treat theirs. So when we consider the golden rule, or the most important commandment, or the truth that exists in just about every spiritual walk, it's when we love, treat, see our neighbors as the same as we love, see, and treat ourselves, or how we would like to be loved, treated, and seen, we will love, treat, and see each other more gently and with more compassion. There's a Hasidic teaching about the story, a teaching story about the damage of gossip and hurtful language, about the young student who goes to his teacher and he says, I feel terrible, I've been saying horrible things about you. And the teacher, I know you're all going to start nodding in about a second, but the teacher tells the student, all right, if you want to make amends, go get a feather pillow, cut it open, and scatter it to the wind. And the student says, okay, and he gets the pillow and he scatters it to the wind, and he comes back to the teacher and he says, I've done it. And the teacher says, okay, now go collect the feathers. And the student says, well, that's impossible. And he says, exactly. That's what happened to your words. Whoosh, out they go. It's very hard to fix that. And so, be gentle with yourself. I had to be gentle with myself after that moment. Well, first I had to beat myself up a lot. Then I got to be gentle with myself. And seek support. You know, if something happens and you're just itching to work it, call someone. Call me. Call a friend. Call somebody that you trust and say, this is ugly and I just got to get it out. Can we just put it in a box and bury it after we're done? You know? But work on it together. This is really one way to make more peace in the world, right? Is to change that experience. All right, last one. Here we go. Commandment, you shall not covet. Challenge, the way to feel good about what you have. I have fallen in love with the word cloud. Let me just say, I've become a word cloud addict. When we appreciate and are truly grateful for what we have, there's no need to want what someone else has. I could end there. I'm not gonna, but I could. So for the record, when I was a child and I first heard the word covet, I was like, this is a weird word. What does this mean? So I checked the dictionary, and the first definition is to desire wrongfully, inordinately, or without due regard for the rights of others. And I thought to myself, wow, that sounds like every reality show on television. I'm haunted by Honey Boo Boo. But the second definition, this was it. The second definition was to wish for, especially eagerly. Wow, that makes coveting happy, doesn't it? It sounds like Karen Drucker's song, This or Something Better, putting it out there, planting the seed for something better. And so we all have role models and people that we admire for whatever qualities they have. And maybe we try to emulate them. We want to be like them. And when it's in a positive way, that's a great thing. Felder shares a great story about the Jewish mystic. He was a great teacher named Zusia. And on his deathbed, Zusia asks God, why couldn't I have been more like Moses, the greatest teacher of our tradition? And God says, why couldn't you have been more like Zusia? We're here to be us. We're here to be the greatest us. So here's another way of looking at it. Heather's working with a personal trainer right now. Yay. And check them out. And this woman has totally inspired Heather. Her strength, her wisdom, her skill. But Heather isn't approaching it as being jealous of her trainer. She's looking at her and she's motivated by her. She wants to emulate that. I want to do what you do. There's another expression, that's for me. Instead of being jealous of what somebody has, that's for me. I'm all about that. I'm all about the good. I'm all about the big. I'm all about the better. I'm all about the healthy. And so Heather is emulating her, and in turn, Heather is now inspiring others. People are excited by her Facebook posts. People are excited by what she's doing. They want to know more. I've also spoken about the gratitude practice that I learned from Dan Millman. And, it's just wanting more of something is not enough. Because we can't really expect more when we don't already appreciate what we have. Yes, we know this. We know this. I sometimes forget, but we know. And it's not in an obligatory, you should be thankful for what you have kind of way. It's just simply making space. I'm really grateful for this. And sometimes it's just the basic things, warm socks, breathing, peach smoothies. I love peach smoothies. It's a great way to invite more good into our lives when we just take a moment to say, grateful for what I have right now. So when we appreciate what we have, are grateful for the abundance in our lives, we have goals set, and we can affirm that our good continues and multiplies, we are positively coveting an ever greater experience. We are eagerly anticipating a better experience. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to go into prayer. And I want to lead you there with this reading. So if you just take a moment to breathe. Oh, deep breath. And just be present right where you are in the chair. This is something that Bo Lozoff, a wonderful gentleman who does a lot of work with prison ministry, he wrote this. There is no spiritual practice more profound than being kind to one's family, neighbors, the cashier at the grocery store, an unexpected visitor, the person who does the laundry or picks up the garbage, or any other of the invisible people whose paths we cross in the course of a normal day. Certainly, there are spiritual mysteries to explore and states of ecstasy or enlightenment beyond description. But as we mature, it becomes clear that those special experiences are meaningful only when they arise from and return to a life of ordinary kindness. A feeling of genuine kindness in our hearts is the practical expression of any spiritual path. So breathing in that truth, knowing that whatever path we are walking, from the most devout to the most devoutly atheist, there is something within us that pulls us towards being a better person, a kinder person. The kind of person that is the pebble in the water of that pebble of peace that drops into the water of humanity and ripples out into the world and leads the world to a more peaceful place, a more peaceful essence, a more peaceful energy. No one has to go to church for that. We choose to come together to create a bigger force field of it, to create a bigger energy of love, kindness, generosity, compassion for each other and for the world. And so right now, as the consciousness of this room comes together in that light, in that peace and that faith and that trust, what I know to be true is that the world shifts. Joy is everywhere. Love is everywhere. Peace is everywhere when we choose to see it. And when we choose to see it, that means we're bringing it. We are delivering the good. And that's why we're here. That's why we're on the planet. To deliver the good. And so regardless of whatever is taking place today, whether it be my dear sister who is dealing with some physical illness right now, or my dear friend who is dealing with financial stress, one of my seminary cohorts dealing with relationship changings, it doesn't matter. because the larger energy of God is moving through all of it, and it's the only activity that's ever happening, and it's always conspiring for our good. It's always moving us to a place of aha, awake, I know, I get it, I'm on it. I'm changing, I'm awakening, I'm here. And in our gratitude for each and every moment, regardless of what that moment looks like, our gratitude for each and every moment lifts us to a higher elevation, a higher experience of that moment. We're capable of doing it for ourselves, and now we have community that can do it for us when we need it. We are so blessed. So blessed. So with deep gratitude, I invite whatever is in the stone for you today to be lost in the water, prayed up by myself and by Heather, lifted out and removed from your backpack of life. It's yours to release. And the good is yours to experience more of. It's all happening right now. Grateful for all of it. All of it. Amen, Ashe, and so it is. Ashe.